Hello and welcome back to Allie Bakes, where I am baking my way through the Cordon Bleu Pastry School textbook. Today we are tackling these Apricot Shortbread Biscuits, which I am turning into Raspberry Shortbread Biscuits because I like the taste of raspberry better than I like the taste of apricot. Lucky for us, the book gave us permission to do so. Let's get started. I decided to cut this recipe in half because I didn't personally need 20 shortbread raspberry biscuits, so we are starting off by creaming together 60 grams of unsalted butter and then adding 32.5 grams of icing sugar. After that comes 12.5 grams of ground almonds, and then a very precariously measured 20 grams of egg. I had never had to cut an egg in half before, but it's first time for everything. That all got mixed together until nice and combined. Initially it looked kind of funky. I think it's because I had so few ingredients in my mixer that it really did not want to mix them together. But eventually we got homogeneous enough to add the 100 grams of plain flour into the batter. This was mixed until just combined and the batter started to come together and look smooth. I then scraped the bowl and dumped all of our cookie dough onto a piece of saran wrap. I then patted it down ever so slightly, and then this was destined for the fridge for an hour to let it set. After we hit the hour mark, I preheated the oven to 338 degrees Fahrenheit because it was time to bake. After taking the cookie dough out of its saran wrap cocoon, I liberally floured my work surface and prepared to roll out the dough. I was instructed to roll the cookies out to 3 millimeters. Didn't really feel like breaking out my ruler, so we just eyeballed it. After I got the dough to a respectable thinness, I broke out my 7 centimeter cookie dough cutter to begin cutting them out into cookies. I tried to work as fast as possible because what I know about shortbread, you don't want that butter to melt or get hot, otherwise the cookies will spread out once you bake them. So I kept my work surface and my tool floured so I could avoid touching the cookies with my hands, which would heat them up with my body heat. And with all my efforts, the dough really cooperated with me. So I got a bunch of perfect circles. The book instructed that I use a fluted cookie cutter, one with like bumps on the outside. But I already had this 7 centimeter cookie dough cutter that was not fluted, so my cookies just weren't destined to be as pretty as the ones in the book. After cutting the initial circles, I then took my 2.5 centimeter cookie cutter and cut out the centers of half of the cookies. After everything was cut, I put them in the oven and set the timer for 10 minutes. I played the waiting game, as I do, and then I ended up pulling them out at around the 12-minute mark. They looked a little light with a little golden ring around the edge, and I think that's what shortbreads like these are meant to look like. I don't think they're supposed to get that super golden brown crust all the way throughout. But they held their shape and they smelled really good and they had a nice crusty bottom. So now I just had to leave them to cool while I prepared our filling. The book instructed me to just heat up a jam, so we're going with good old Smucker's for this one, the old tried and true. So our Smucker's raspberry jam went in a saucepan over low heat until it turned from thick goo into thin goo. And even though this jam was seedless, I still strained it to get all the little thick chunky parts out, so it would look nice and delicate on the cookies. Now I just had to spoon the strained jam over the full circle bottoms of the cookies. I personally think the bright red raspberry jam looks way more attractive than that muted orange apricot jam would have looked on these cookies. Plus it kind of gives them a nice little Christmas vibe, which I appreciate. After that, I dusted the donut-looking halves of the cookies with powdered sugar, and looking back, I should have used like a strainer or a sieve for this, because this powdered sugar looked really chunky and not very refined, but it got the job done. And then we stacked the powdered sugar top hats onto the bottom jam-covered cookies. And then all that was left to do was put the extra jam in the jam holes. Despite my shoddy powdered sugar job, these actually looked really pretty. They were very Christmassy. They reminded me of like jam thumbprint cookies. Mine look a little more rustic than the picture in the book, but I think that's okay. And you could even make them multicolored by using different colors of jam. I just personally think raspberry is the best flavor, the best tart flavor to go with sweet cookies like this, so that's what I chose. I think the shortbread was cooked okay. It was delightfully crumbly and sweet, and it had that quintessentially French buttery taste. I think I executed the bake on these pretty okay.
I'm very pleasantly surprised. Usually shortbread cookies are like kind of dry and not super enjoyable to eat. This is like a coffee cookie or a tea time cookie that you actually want to eat. That shortbread is super buttery and it's not just like a boring shortbread, like it actually has flavor. And I love raspberry jam, so it pairs perfectly, the tartness with the butteriness of the cookie. Those are pretty good. I might have another one.
I'll definitely be adding these to my Christmas cookie recipe arsenal just because they're very pretty and they're delicious and they look festive. I give these a 6.5 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.